Dream of the Red Chamber, Chapter 43.
We are diving back into Dream of the Red Chamber.
Specifically, we are zooming in on Chapter 43. And honestly, this might be one of the most relatable chapters in the entire book for anyone who's ever, worked in an office.
Oh, absolutely. I was thinking the same thing.
I was reading through this and I had to laugh because we are basically looking at the 18th century Qing Dynasty version of a forced office birthday party.
Yes.
The kind where the manager comes around with an envelope and says, hey, it's the boss's big day. Chip in what you can. But they're like watching exactly how much you put in.
That is uncomfortably accurate. We aren't talking about poetry clubs or tragic romances today. We're talking about high-stakes party planning, specifically the art of the crowd-funded birthday.
We want to unpack how a simple birthday celebration for one character, Wang Qifeng, reveals the entire financial and interpersonal power structure of the Jia clan.
It's a masterclass in social navigation.
It really is. And before we get to the money, because there is a lot of money involved here, we need to set the scene. The context is, well, it's vital.
Right, because the household has been sort of on pause, hasn't it?
Exactly. Grandmother Jia, the supreme matriarch, the CEO of this family corporation, she had been sick.
Just a minor cold. But you know how it is. When the head of the family is down, the whole organization just freezes. Everyone's walking on eggshells.
But the chapter starts with her recovery. And there's this very specific detail about food that I just loved. I think it tells us so much.
The pheasant soup?
Wang Xing sends over pheasant soup.
Yes, very refined. A real delicacy.
But look at Grandmother Ji's reaction. She tastes it, says it has good flavor, and then she completely pivots. She says, and I'm paraphrasing the translation here, if there are any pheasants left, fry 2 pieces up, make them salty. That pairs better with porridge.
It is such a great human moment. She's saying, I'm done with the invalid food. I don't want delicate broth anymore.
I want grease. I want salt.
It's the universal sign of recovery, right? When your appetite snaps back and you start craving the unhealthy stuff.
But the key here isn't just the menu change. It's Shifeng's reaction to it.
Right. The text says Shifeng hastily orders the servants to get it done. She doesn't hesitate. She doesn't check with the chef.
She just snaps her fingers and makes the salty fried meat manifest instantly.
Which establishes her role right out of the gate. She's the favorite, not just because she's smart, but because she's so responsive. She anticipates the need before the sentence is even finished.
Exactly. And because the matriarch is finally eating well, she's got her salty pheasant, she's feeling energetic, her mood lifts, she decides she is bored.
And the second day of the 9th month is approaching, which happens to be Shifeng's birthday.
Perfect timing.
So Grandmother Jia decides that the standard way of celebrating is just too boring. She calls the old way vulgar.
Vulgar is a strong word for giving birthday gifts.
It is, isn't it? But her reasoning is fascinating. She says that usually everyone sends individual gifts, shoes, embroidery, gold ornaments.
Right.
But she feels like that creates distance. It feels transactional. I give you this, you owe me that. She wants something communal.
She wants a vibe shift.
She really does. So she proposes a new method.
And this is where we get the term that drives this whole episode, gathering molecules.
Fengjie.
It sounds like a chemistry experiment.
It's a great phrase. It literally means pooling small parts to make a whole. In modern terms, it is crowdfunding.
So instead of buying gifts, everyone contributes cash to a central pot. The goal is to create a massive budget for a party that everyone feels invested in.
It sounds festive on the surface. Let's all pitch in.
But let's be real. When the person who controls your inheritance, your housing, and your social status suggests a fun voluntary contribution, it is neither fun nor voluntary.
Oh, absolutely not. It is mandatory fun. And the response is immediate enthusiasm. The text describes the whole clan gathering in the main room. It's a packed house.
This scene, the gathering in the room, leads us to the first major insight from the source material. The visuals of hierarchy.
Yes.
I have to admit, when I was reading the notes on the seating arrangement, I got a little confused. It felt like a logic puzzle. A sits next to B, but C is standing. But there's a code here, right?
There is a very strict Jia family custom at play. If you want to understand power in this novel, you just have to look at where people are sitting.
Okay, so walk us through the room. Who's at the top?
The power center is on the Kang. That's the raised heated platform that serves as the main couch. You have Grandmother Jia and Aunt Sue sitting there facing each other.
The VIP section. That makes sense.
Then you have the middle management, Lady Jing and Lady Wang. These are the wives of the grandmother's sons. They're high status, the ladies of the house.
Okay.
But they are sitting on chairs near the door.
Near the door. That feels subordinate.
It is. They are purposefully placing themselves in a serving position relative to the matriarch. They are showing deference.
Okay, that tracks. But then we get to the part that tripped me up. We have the young mistresses Wang Shifeng, the birthday girl, and her sister-in-law Yushi. They are standing,
They're standing.
but the senior servants are sitting.
Yes, this is a brilliant detail. Grandmother Jia specifically orders small footstools to be brought in for the senior servants, like the wife of the steward Lai Da.
Make that make sense for me.
Yeah.
Why is the servant sitting on a stool while the young mistress of the house has to stand?
It's about the specific type of respect in a Confucian household. It's about tenure. These women, Lai Da's wife and the other nannies, served the previous generation.
Oh, wow.
They served Grandmother Jia's husband. They nursed the current masters when they were babies.
So they have seniority.
Extreme seniority. In terms of social class, Shefeng is their master. But in terms of generational time, they are elders.
That is fascinating. So even though Shefeng can order them around, she technically has to show them respect because they changed her husband's diapers.
Precisely. It's a check on power. It tells us that the Jia household values loyalty and time served almost as much as bloodline. It's a visual representation of the social contract holding this place together.
So we have this room full of people arranged by this complex algorithm of rank and tenure. Now comes the awkward part, the shakedown.
The molecule tiers.
This felt exactly like a gala pledge drive where the billionaire donor announces their gift first to set the anchor price.
That is exactly what Grandmother Jia is doing. She opens the bidding. She pledges 20 taels.
Just to ground us, because taels can feel abstract. 20 taels is a lot of silver, right?
It's significant. A regular middle-class family outside the compound, say, a small merchant family, might live on 20 taels for an entire year. Grandmother Jia is dropping an annual salary on the table just to start the pot.
And Aunt Sue matches it.
She has to. She's the wealthy guest living in the house. She can't look cheap. So 20 taels from her.
Then we step down a rung to the ladies, like Lady Xing and Lady Wang. They propose 16 taels.
And notice the gap. They can't pay 20 because that would be presumptuous. They can't be equal to the matriarch, but they can't drop too low or they lose face. So 16 is the respectful subordinate amount.
Then the younger generation, Yushi and Li Wan, come in at 12 taels. It's all very mathematical. Everyone knows their place until we get to the glitch in the matrix, Li Wan.
Right, Li Wan. We've touched on her before, but remind us of her situation.
She is the widow of the eldest grandson. Her husband died young.
And in this novel, widowhood means social death, but also financial stagnation. She has a fixed allowance. She doesn't run the household accounts like Shifeng. She doesn't take bribes. She doesn't have side hustles.
She's on a fixed income.
And Grandmother Jia knows this. She does. In a moment of genuine benevolence, and the grandmother does have these moments, she says, "You're a widow without a job. I will pay your share for you."
Which is sweet. But Shifeng intervenes. And this scene is one of my favorites because it shows just how sharp Shifeng is.
She interrupts the grandmother immediately.
And listen to how she does it. She jokingly scolds the grandmother. She says essentially, "Don't be so happy yet. You're just recovering from an illness. If you pay for Li Wan now, you're going to regret spending the money later."
She basically calls the supreme matriarch cheap. She says, "You're going to try to trick me into paying you back secretly because you'll miss that 12 taels."
It is so bold. She accuses the CEO of being a regretful giver. And then Shifeng says, "I'll tell you what, I will pay Li Wan's share."
So why does she do that? Is she just being nice to Li Wan?
It's a double move.
Yeah.
It is nice, sure. Li Wan pays nothing. But look at the framing. Shifeng frames it as saving herself the trouble of dealing with the grandmother's regret. It turns an act of charity into a comedy routine that highlights Shifeng's own wealth.
It's a total flex. She's saying, "I'm so rich, I'll cover her share just to save us the conversation."
Exactly. It diffuses the tension of Li Wan's poverty. Instead of everyone looking at the poor widow with pity, they are laughing at Shifeng's banter with the grandmother. She manages the emotional temperature of the room perfectly.
But she isn't done negotiating, is she? Because Shifeng scans the pledge list and realizes the math doesn't add up.
This is where she really shows her teeth. She looks at Lady Xing and Lady Wang, her own mother-in-law and her aunt. They pledged 16 taels.
Which covers just themselves.
Right. But think about Grandmother Jia's contribution. Her 20 taels covers herself and shares for the grandkids, Baoyu and Dayu.
And she used 20 taels, covers herself and her daughter Baochai.
I see. So Shifeng calls out the ladies for not paying for their kids.
Boldly. She says it's unfair to Grandmother Jia. She basically accuses her elders of being cheapskates who are trying to offload the cost of their children onto the grandmother.
That takes incredible nerve. I mean, imagine calling out your mother-in-law in front of the whole family and saying, hey, you didn't pay for your son's ticket.
It is high risk, but because she frames it as protecting the grandmother's interests, she's untouchable.
Ah, of course.
And grandmother Gia plays along immediately saying, oh, I was almost fooled. I almost let them cheat me.
So Lady Xing and Lady Wang have to open their wallets again.
They do. They agree to cover a share for a child each. Shifeng successfully taxes her elders to ensure the financial burden is distributed according to lineage.
There's a comment from the sidelines here that I loved. Laida's mother, that servant sitting on the stool, chimes in.
Yes. She jokes, this is upside down. You're favoring the outsiders, meaning Aunt Shu and the cousins, and treating your own mother-in-law and sister-in-law like strangers.
It's a joke, but it stings a little, doesn't it?
It cuts to the bone. It highlights Shifeng's entire political strategy. She aligns herself with the supreme power and the wealthy guests, often at the expense of the middle management. She punches up, but only because she has the CEO backing her.
So, we've covered the aristocracy. But this crowdfunding isn't limited to the family members. The bucket is getting passed down to the staff.
This is where the economic reality of the Jia household gets really interesting. We have to talk about the rich servants.
Which sounds like an oxymoron to modern ears.
It does, but not in this context. Grandmother Jia insists that Leidai's mother and the other senior staff pay 12 taels, the exact same amount as the young mistresses.
Wait, so the housekeeper pays the same as the master's wife?
Grandmother Jia's logic is blunt. I know you are all capitalists.
She actually calls them capitalists.
Essentially, yes. She says they are owners of money. She knows these senior servants manage the estates. They take cuts of contracts. They take bribes. They run their own side businesses.
So in terms of liquid cash, some of these servants are wealthier than the actual family members who live on allowances.
That is a fascinating insight. The matriarch is essentially levying a wealth tax on the shadow economy of her own house.
Exactly. She rejects the idea that they should pay less just because of their rank. If you have the cash, you pay the tax.
So the pot is growing. Then you have the maids, Pinger, Yuanyang, Shiren. They start pooling smaller amounts, 1 or 2 taels.
And notice Pinger here. She is Yurveng's personal maid and confidant. She stands up and says, I have a private gift prepared separately for my mistress, but this is for the public fund, so I have to contribute here too.
She's paying twice.
She is navigating 2 systems. She pays the private tribute to show personal loyalty to Shening, and she pays the public tax to show social compliance to the grandmother.
It is expensive to be that close to power.
But not everyone is happy about this compliance. We have to talk about the bitter gourds.
Ah, yes. The concubines. Concubine Zhao and concubine Zhu.
First of all, bitter gourds is just such a descriptive insult.
It is. It implies they are dried up, tough, and unhappy.
And poor.
Right. These women are semi-masters. They are technically aunties to the children, but they have very little favor and very little money. Usually they would be overlooked. But Shifeng insists on dragging them into this contribution list.
Yushi, the sister-in-law, actually pushes back here, doesn't she? She tries to be the voice of reason.
She does. She is often the passive, nice one. She says to Shifeng, you are insatiable. Why are you dragging these 2 bitter gourds into it? They have hard lives and no money. Let them off the hook.
And Shifeng's response, honestly, it gave me a chill.
It is brutally pragmatic. She says, roughly, even if they have money, they'll just waste it on other people anyway. We might as well take it and use it for the party so they can have some fun.
I'm doing them a favor by confiscating their money.
It reveals Shifeng's worldview perfectly. She believes that these women are incapable of managing their own happiness. She thinks she is doing a public service by forcing them to participate in her joy.
It isn't about the money, is it?
Yeah.
They're only paying 2 taels each.
No. 4 taels total is a drop in the bucket compared to the 150 they raise. This is about dominance. It's about making sure everyone bends the knee to this celebration. No exemptions.
So they pass the hat around. They shake down everyone. What is the grand total?
They raise over 150 taels.
Which, going back to our earlier metric, is about 7 years of living expenses for a normal family.
It is a massive sum for a birthday party. Even grandmother Jia thinks it's too much. When she hears the total, she says, we can't possibly spend all this on wine and theater in one day.
So they decide to turn it into a festival.
Yushi suggests spreading it over 2 or 3 days. A multi-day bender.
And what are they spending this war chest on?
Opera, mostly. Grandmother Jia wants a good troupe, and
Ah.
here's the final power play by Shifeng. She insists on hiring an outside troupe.
But they have their own family troupe living in the garden. They literally own actors.
They do. But Shifeng says, we are bored of them. We've heard them too many times. She wants something fresh. It's conspicuous consumption at its finest.
It's the equivalent of hiring a celebrity DJ when your cousin owns a sound system.
Precisely. It signals to everyone that this event is special. It's not just a family dinner. It's an imported experience.
And finally, who is actually doing the work? Because Shifeng is the birthday girl.
Grandmother Jia is very clear on this. She delegates everything to Yushi. She tells Shifeng, don't you worry about a thing, you just enjoy your day.
So Yushi, who paid 12 taels, also has to do all the labor.
That is the burden of being the nice sister-in-law. Shifeng gets the glory, the money, and the relaxation. Yushi gets the logistics.
It really highlights the disparity between the two young mistresses. Shifeng is the executive. Yushi is the operations manager.
And the operations manager rarely gets to enjoy the party.
Okay, let's pause on Yushi for a second.
Yeah.
She's sort of, I don't know, background noise?
She is?
She's there, but she's not a main player like Shifeng or Baoyu, so why put her in charge?
The context here is just key. Yushi is the mistress of the Ningguo house. Remember, there are two houses, Rongguo, where all the main action is, and Ningguo, the mansion next door.
So she's family, but she's an outsider to the immediate household.
Exactly. She's like an external auditor.
Oh.
She's the sister-in-law from across the street. She knows where the bodies are buried, but she doesn't live in the same house. And that distance, it gives her a very specific, very sharp perspective.
And in this chapter, she becomes our lens into the reality of the Jia family's economy.
That's it.
Okay, so the project manager is set. Step 1. She has to go discuss the party with the birthday girl herself, Wang Shifeng. Now, knowing Shifeng's personality, she loves money, she loves power, I assume she's just micromanaging this whole thing.
You would think so, but when she goes to her and asks, okay, how do you want this handled? Shifeng does something really interesting. She waves her off.
Really?
She says, you don't need to ask me. Just look at the old ancestor signals and follow that.
Wait, hold on. Is she actually being humble here? Or is this some kind of trap?
Oh, it's definitely not humility.
Yeah.
No, it's false modesty, which is a massive power move in this culture. She's essentially saying, I am far too important and beloved to worry about the grubby details of my own celebration. I'll just let you handle the work while I accept the adoration.
God, that is infuriating. It's like the boss who says, oh, don't make a fuss, but we'll absolutely fire you if you don't make a fuss.
Precisely. But she sees right through it. She is not intimidated at all. In fact, she snacks back with a comment that I think is one of the most important lines in the entire chapter. She laughs and tells Shifeng she's too lucky. But then she adds a warning.
I have the quote right here. She says, you hold back a little. If you are too full, you will spill over.
If you are too full, you will spill over.
That sounds ominous. That doesn't really sound like birthday banter.
It's incredibly ominous. I mean, you have to remember the central theme of Dream of the Red Chamber is that all feasts must end.
Right.
The family is in decline, even if they don't quite know it yet. Shifeng, who is at the absolute peak of her power, extracting money from everyone, and she's telling her, you are reaching a tipping point.
It's just the laws of physics. The cup can only hold so much.
And Shifeng just brushes it off. She laughs. She's too high on her own supply to even hear the warning.
So the warning is ignored. The collection begins.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, Yuxing starts gathering the share money, the Fengjie.
Mm-hmm.
And the order of who pays first really stood out to me. It wasn't the rich relatives.
No. Who was?
It was the servants. The notes say Lin Zixiao's wife brings the silver from the people underneath. The maids, the staff, they paid immediately.
And that tells you everything about the fear dynamic in that household.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a wealthy aunt, you can take your time. You can pay late. But if you're a servant living paycheck to paycheck, you have to pay first to prove you aren't a traitor.
That is dark. It's a loyalty tax that just hits the poorest people the hardest.
Exactly. And Yushi is counting all this money. She's doing the math. She realizes that while the servants have paid, the heavy hitters, the old ancestor, the madams, they haven't sent their cash yet.
Okay.
And there is one glaring omission on the spreadsheet. Leave one.
Li Wan is the eldest widow, right?
Right. She's Baoyu's sister-in-law, a widow, very virtuous, lives very, very frugally. So she has a high rank, but no real income compared to someone like Shifeng.
So this leads to the scene that I'm just calling the audit.
Yes.
She takes the money she has, and she goes straight to Yufing's room to count it out face to face.
This is a confrontation. She is forcing transparency. She just dumps the silver out and says, here's who paid, here's who hasn't, and she points out that Li Wan is missing.
And this is where Shifeng surprises me. She says, oh, don't worry about Li Wan. If we run short, I'll cover her share.
Does that surprise you?
It does. I mean, we just established Shifeng is incredibly greedy. But here she is, offering to cover a poor widow's contribution.
Sounds kind of...
Yeah, nice.
It sounds nice. It's designed to sound nice. But Yushi is not buying it for a second.
Okay.
She immediately calls Shifeng out for playing the ghost.
Playing the ghost. I love that idiom. It means she's being shady.
It means she's being deceptive. She deconstructs the whole scam right there. She accuses Shifeng of wanting to act generous in public, acting like a human being in front of people, but privately, she knows Shifeng won't actually open her own wallet.
So wait, how does the scam work then?
Shifeng says, I'll cover it. But she's the one managing all the money. So she'll just use the surplus from the general pot to pay for Li Wan's share and then take all the credit for herself.
Wow.
She gets the reputation of a saint without spending a single dime of her own money.
Okay, that is Machiavellian.
It is. And Yushi threatens to blow the whistle. She basically says, I'm going to tell the grandmother you're skimming off the top.
And that actually works.
It's the only thing that works.
Yeah.
Shifeng backs down immediately. She jokingly calls Yushi fearsome, but you know the mask slips. She realizes Yushi isn't just some pushover administrator. She's keeping score.
There's another moment in this audit scene. It involves Pinger. She's Gefkane's personal maid.
Her most trusted confidant, yes.
Pinger offers her own money to the pot. And Yushi takes it publicly, but then the notes say she does something sneaky later. She gives it back to her.
This is crucial. This is where we start to really see who Yushi is. Publicly, she has to take the money. She has to maintain the hierarchy. She can't refuse a contribution in front of the boss.
Right.
But privately, she returns it. And she says something to Pinger that I think just defines her moral code.
I have the line here. She says, I only allow your master to cheat. I don't allow myself to do favors.
It's a bit of a complex sentence in the translation, but the sentiment is basically, I know your master, Shifeng, is corrupt. I know she's cheating the system, but just because she is, that doesn't mean I will participate in exploiting you.
It's a quiet rebellion. She's drawing a line in the sand.
She is.
And then she follows it up with a joke that is, well, it's barely a joke. It's more like a curse.
The coffin remark.
Yeah. She looks at Shifeng, who is obsessively counting this silver,
Mm-hmm.
and she says, you are so calculating. Where will you use all this money? You can't spend it all. You'll have to take it into your coffin.
It's dark humor, but it cuts deep. Shifeng is obsessed with accumulation. She is reminding her of mortality. You know, you can't take it with you.
Shifeng is just too busy counting to hear the philosophy.
Right.
So, you leave Zifeng's place with the bag of cash. And this is where her character arc really shifts for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because she turns into the Robin Hood of the Jia household.
That's a great comparison. She starts redistributing the wealth.
She doesn't just collect, she filters. She knows exactly who can afford this birthday tax and who really can't.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to Yuan Yang, the grandmother's maid, and she returns her share. She returns the money to Kaiyun, Lady Wang's maid. But the one that really stopped me was when she went to the concubines, Zhu and Zhao.
Yes, this is a massive deal for readers of the novel.
Why is that?
Because concubine Zhao is usually the villain. She's bitter, she's scheming, she's the mother of the jealous younger brother. Most of the other characters treat her with contempt.
So she's kind of the wicked stepmother archetype.
Essentially. But, you know, she doesn't treat her like a villain here. She treats her like a victim of the economic system.
She returns their money and says, you poor things, where would you get this spare money?
It's a moment of radical empathy. She looks at them and she sees that they are pitiful. They have no status, a very small stipend, and yet Shifeng expects them to pay up, just like everyone else.
It really highlights the cruelty of a flat tax, doesn't it? $50 is nothing to the CEO, but it's a lot to the intern.
Exactly. And he cancels the debt, she gives the money back, and she says, if the Phoenix girl asks, I'll cover for you.
She's protecting the vulnerable from the predator. It completely changed how I see her. She's running this entire shadow economy of kindness right under Shifeng's nose.
And that contrast between the flashy public performance of the party and the private human reality is the perfect bridge.
Right.
Because now we move to the day of the party itself, September 2nd.
The big day, The notes describe the garden as just absolute chaos.
It's sensory overload. The text mentions plays being performed, acrobats, storytellers, drums, music. Everyone is crammed into the garden to please the old ancestor in Shifeng. It is loud, it is bright, it is hot.
It's a mandatory fun. Dial up to 11. But in the middle of all this noise, Li Wan, who is trying to organize a poetry club because apparently we need more structured activities,
Of course.
she realizes someone is missing.
The main character, Baoyu.
Now, Baoyu is the golden boy. He's the heir. He's the apple of the grandmother's eye. Him not being at Shifeng's birthday is a massive, massive faux pas.
It's shockingly rude. It's a direct insult to Shifeng and to the grandmother.
So the maids start scrambling. Where is he? And Shirin, Baoyu's head maid, she steps in with a cover story.
Right.
She tells everyone, oh, don't worry, he went to the Prince of Beijing's palace for something urgent.
Now look at the crowd's reaction. Are they worried about him?
No, they seem annoyed.
They are annoyed. They start speculating that maybe a concubine at the prince's palace died, so he had to go pay respects. But the general vibe is, he better have a really good excuse, and we are going to punish him when he gets back for ruining the flow of the party.
They just want him to play his part in the pageant.
Exactly. But here's the twist. We, the listeners, and the readers, we get to see what's actually happening. Zhurin is lying.
Okay.
Baoyu is not at the Prince of Beijing's palace rubbing elbows with royalty. He planned a great escape.
This part feels like a heist movie. The notes say he planned this the day before.
Yes. He premeditated it. He instructed his servant, a boy named Minyan, to have 2 horses ready at the back gate at dawn. And he specifically gave the order, don't let anyone else follow.
I want to focus on the visual here because the contrast is so stark.
It is.
Inside the garden, everyone is wearing bright silks, red and gold, makeup, jewelry. But the text says when Baoyu emerges at dawn, he's wearing plain, pure vegetarian clothes.
That's a very specific term. It means mourning attire, but not the official white mourning robes. Just simple, unadorned clothing. No patterns, no flash.
It's the anti-party outfit.
It's the absence of color, the absence of luxury. He rides out of the back gate without speaking a single word. He just points.
Wow.
When Minyan finally asks where they are going, Baoyu asks for the road out of the north gate.
And Minyan, who's usually down for whatever, he's kind of the mischievous sidekick, he actually hesitates. He warns him.
He does.
He says, Master, it's cold and desolate out there. There's no fun to be had.
And that line, that is the key to the whole chapter. Baoyu replies, a cold and desolate place is exactly what I want.
A cold and desolate place is exactly what I want. That gives me chills every time I read it. Why leave the most exclusive, high-status, fun party in the city to go somewhere freezing and empty?
To understand this, we have to look at a very Chinese concept, renao.
Renao, literal translation. Hot and noisy.
Right. In Chinese culture, a good celebration must be renao. It must be bustling, loud, crowded, just full of life. That is what Shifeng loves. That is the garden party. It is the height of renao.
Okay. So he's rejecting that.
He is rejecting that entirely. He is seeking lang, coldness, quiet, solitude, authenticity.
So the party's this fake heat and he wants real cold.
Exactly. The party is performative. It's about hierarchy, money, face, and obligation. Everyone is playing a role. And Baoyu is sick of playing the role. He wants to feel something real.
The text mentions he's going out to mourn someone. It's a bit vague in this specific excerpt on who. Some scholars say it's a maid who died, others an actress. But does it even matter who it is?
I don't think it does. The specific person matters less than the act itself. In a household where every single emotion is regulated, you must smile for the birthday, you must pay the share money, you must write a poem. Baoyu is reclaiming his emotional autonomy.
He's saying, my grief is mine. You can't schedule it, and you can't buy it.
He physically removes himself from the hot center of power to the cold periphery where he can just be a human being.
It connects perfectly back to Yushi, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, Yushi was quietly resisting the mandatory fun by returning the money. She was opting out of the financial game.
Right.
And Baoyu is opting out of the social game by physically disappearing.
That is a brilliant connection. They are both rebels. Yushi works within the system to soften its blow on the weak. Baoyu exits the system entirely to preserve his own soul.
Okay, let's shift scenes.
All right, I want you to close your eyes for a second and just imagine the absolute peak of social obligation. It's a birthday party.
But not just any birthday party.
No, not at all. We're at the Ningbo and Rango Estates, which is basically the center of the universe for the Jia family. It is loud.
So loud. You've got opera music, hundreds of guests.
Yeah.
It's a sensory overload.
The air smells like, roasting meat, expensive wine, heavy perfume. You see gold, jade, bright silk everywhere. It is the definition of a good time.
It's a performance of wealth, of happiness.
Yeah.
Your attendance is mandatory.
Exactly. And the star of the show, the golden boy, the heir, Baoyu.
Nowhere to be found.
Absolutely nowhere. So cut to a completely different scene where maybe 7 or 8 miles outside the city walls, it's desolate, it's quiet.
And there's Baoyu on a horse just trying to get as far away from that party as he possibly can.
It's such a powerful contrast. You have the suffocating excess of the party versus this barren, silent wilderness.
All to perform a secret act of mourning.
I'm so glad we're focusing on this because on the surface, you might just see a spoiled kid skipping a party.
Right. But if you really dig into the source material, which is what we do here, it's this masterclass in psychology. It's about how we process grief when the world demands we be happy.
It's about the masks we wear for our families.
And maybe most surprisingly, it's about the radical philosophy of a servant who understands his master better than anyone.
So let's get out on that road. Baoyu has fled. He's got his page boy, Mingyan, with him. And they've ridden until, as the text so beautifully puts it, human smoke is scarce.
Which is such a lovely, poetic way to say civilization. Human smoke is the smoke from cooking fires. So if you can't see the smoke, you are truly alone.
You've left that whole domestic world behind. So they stop their horses, middle of nowhere, and Baoyu asks a question that seems, well, completely out of place.
He turns to Minion and says, "Is there anyone selling incense here?"
Right. And Minion, who's the practical one, is basically like, sure, we can find a village. What kind do you want?
And this is where we get the first real glimpse into Baoyu's state of mind. He doesn't just say, grab me, whatever.
No, he lists 3 incredibly specific types. He asks for sandalwood, rue, and lacquer wood. I mean, these are not your standard convenience store scents, are they?
Not at all. Sandalwood or tan, that's pretty standard.
Mm-hmm.
But rue and lacquer wood, these are sophisticated, aristocratic aromatics.
So he's expecting to find these at some little roadside stall.
This just shows how disconnected he is from the real world. He wants the aesthetic standards of his palace to just exist out in the wild.
And Minion kind of laughs at him. He says, these 3 are hard to come by. And you see Baoyu get genuinely distressed. The text says he looks anxious.
He's stuck. It's like he feels that if the incense isn't perfect, the grief itself won't be valid.
It's sincerity through perfectionism.
That's a great way to put it. But then Minion saves the day with just this brilliant piece of simple logic. He just asks, why do you need to buy it? Don't you carry that little pouch with you all the time?
The classic check your pockets moment.
It is. But the realization Baoyu has is so much deeper than just convenience. He checks his pouch and he finds these 2 small pieces of his own high-quality incense.
And his whole perspective shifts.
Yeah. He realizes that using his own personal supply, something he carries every day that's been close to his body, is actually more sincere, more respectful than buying something new.
It moves the ritual from being transactional to personal. I give you a piece of myself instead of I buy this for you.
Exactly. The intention matters more than the procurement. But of course, solving one problem creates another. He's got the incense.
But he forgot the burner. The logistics of grief are never simple.
And Minion, again, is the voice of reason. He gently chides him, calls him a confused thing.
I love that. A servant calling his master a confused thing. It shows how close they are.
They grew up together.
Yeah.
And Minion points out, look, if we could have brought a burner, we wouldn't have had to run away like this.
Oh, right. Because if they'd walked out the front gate carrying a charcoal burner, someone would have asked questions. The secret would be out.
Exactly. This had to be a spur-of-the-moment escape. So Minion proposes a new plan. He says the Water Spirit Convent is only 2 miles up the road. They'll have a burner.
Okay, now this is where the character analysis gets really, really interesting for me. The text says, Minion is surprised that Baoyu agrees so quickly.
Because Baoyu usually hates this specific convent.
So what's his beef with the place? Why the sudden change of heart?
Well, to understand that, you have to get a sense of Baoyu's intellectual snobbery. He's a purist. He sees this convent as a monument to ignorance.
Ignorance, how so?
He says it was built by rich old men and foolish women who read this famous poem, The Goddess of the Luo River.
Okay, so they read a poem about a goddess.
Right. But Baoyu knows it's a poem, a work of fiction. He knows the poet Cao Zijian invented the goddess as a metaphor, so he thinks it's ridiculous, even vulgar, that people are worshiping a literary device as a real god.
He calls the deity a lie told by Cao Zijian.
Exactly. So normally the place just offends his intelligence.
But today he says, the lie suits my purpose.
And that line is so key. He needs a stage. He needs a space that feels sacred. Even if he thinks the theology behind it is complete nonsense, he's repurposing the temple for his own very real sadness.
So they ride to the convent. The old nun who runs it is absolutely shocked to see him. The text says it's like a live dragon falling from the sky.
Which just gives you a sense of the power imbalance. He's the son of the local landlords. For him to just show up is a huge event.
But he just shuts down all the pleasantries. No tea, no conversation. He walks straight in and just stares at the clay statue of the goddess.
And this is such a great detail. He knows it's a fake. He knows it's just mud.
But he starts crying.
Yes. The description is stunning. He looks at the statue and he sees the flight of a swan and the swimming dragon. He's projecting his own feelings onto it. He's moved by the aesthetic form, the beauty of the figure.
It's the beauty that unlocks his tears, not the belief.
Precisely. So he asks to borrow a censer. The nun, trying to be helpful, brings out the whole kit. Paper money, paper horses, the worship starter pack.
And Baoyu refuses it all. I don't need any of that.
It's a rejection of that transactional side of religion. He's not here to bribe the spirits for a good afterlife. He wants pure incense, pure emotion, no bribery.
So they go out to the courtyard, but he's being picky again. He can't find a spot that's clean enough for him.
Purity is the theme. The ground is too dirty for his very specific, heartfelt ritual. So Minyan suggests the well platform.
The well platform. Elevated, associated with water, which is the ultimate symbol of purity for Baoyu. So they put the burner there, he lights a special incense, he bows, and tears are just streaming down his face.
But notice what he doesn't do.
He doesn't say a word.
He can't.
Yeah.
To speak the name of the person he's mourning would break the code. It has to be a secret grief.
Yeah.
And this leads to what I think is the emotional core of this entire chapter.
When Minyan steps in.
Yes. Minyan, the servant, sees his master crying in silence and realizes Baoyu literally cannot speak. So Minyan does something incredible. He gets down on the ground and starts praying for Baoyu.
I love this scene. It's so funny, but also so heartbreaking. Minyan basically says, look, I've been with the master for years. I know all his secrets, but I honestly don't know who this is for.
He's guessing. He addresses the unknown spirit and says, you must be a clever and elegant sister or friend. He knows Baoyu well enough to know it has to be someone young, beautiful, and probably female.
And then he makes this request. He asks the spirit to please come visit the master often, even though they're separated by death. But then he drops the kicker. The part that makes Baoyu stop crying and actually laugh.
Oh, this is the most fascinating part of the text. Minyan prays, in the next life, please protect the master and let him be reborn as a girl.
A girl. He wants his master to lose his male privilege in that society.
Yes. He prays that Baoyu can be reborn as a girl so he can spend time with these spirits instead of being, and this is a direct quote, a musty bearded thing.
A musty bearded thing. That is quite a brand for masculinity.
It perfectly captures Baoyu's entire worldview. He famously says that girls are made of water and men are made of mud. He sees masculinity as dirty, turbid, corrupt because it's tied to politics and money and power.
Whereas femininity, in his eyes, is pure and spiritual.
So Minyan knows his master so well that he understands the ultimate blessing isn't power or wealth, it's to escape being a man entirely.
It shows Minyan isn't just fetching things. He completely understands Baoyu's radical philosophy.
He does. And Baoyu's reaction is to laugh and playfully kick him. It just breaks that heavy tension. It turns this moment of isolating grief into a moment of human connection.
It grounds him. Speaking of reality, the ritual is over, the nun serves them a meal, and the contrast just keeps coming.
Minyan points it out. Back at the estate, there's a grand banquet. Here, pickled vegetables and rice.
The heavy, greasy food of society versus the plain, simple food of the spirit. And Baoyu seems content with it. It's like a cleanse.
Minyan, the practical one, starts checking the position of the sun. He's like, okay, we had our moment. We need to go back.
He is the one who makes sure Baoyu can actually survive the social consequences of all this. He tells him, if we stay too long, the grandmother and mother will worry.
He reframes the return. It's not about enjoying the party. It's about filial piety.
That's so smart. He frames it as a duty, not a surrender. Go back now, and you've fulfilled both duties, the private one and the public one.
It's the art of the compromise. And Baoyu agrees. He knows he can't live in this private world forever.
So they ride back, sneak in through a back gate, and the transformation begins immediately. The maids tell him to hurry up, and what's the first thing he does?
The costume change. He takes off his plain riding clothes and puts on his fancy patterned party clothes.
He's literally taking off the mourner and putting back on the celebrated son.
Stepping back into the role that the family wrote for him.
But just before he goes into the main hall, there's this quiet little moment on the porch. He sees a maid named Yuchuan just sitting there crying.
This is a crucial detail. He asks her, "Guess where I went?" And she doesn't answer. She just keeps weeping.
The implication there is so heavy, Yuchuan knows, doesn't she?
It's almost certain. The text doesn't name the deceased right here, but Yuchuan is the sister of the maid, Jinchuan, who died. Their shared grief implies Yuchuan knows exactly whose spirit Baoyu went to honor on this specific day.
It's a moment of silent solidarity. They're the only two people in this entire compound mourning the same loss while everyone else celebrates.
It's so sad. He wants to share it, but he can't. And then he has to enter the arena.
He walks into the main hall, and his mother and grandmother just lay into him. "Where were you? You scared us." And Baoyu, he lies.
Smoothly, without missing a beat, he invents a story on the spot. He says he went to comfort the Prince of Beijing, whose favorite concubine had just died.
Why that specific lie?
It's brilliant. He uses a lie about death to cover up a real act of mourning. But by invoking the Prince of Beijing, a high-status person, he makes his absence seem responsible.
Right. It's not rebellious. It's socially advantageous. Mourning a servant girl, they'd be furious. Comforting a prince, that's networking.
Exactly, and it works instantly. They go from threatening to have his father beat him to, "Oh, my poor baby, did you eat? Were you scared?"
It just shows how easily they're manipulated by status and appearance. They don't care about his internal state, just his external standing.
Which is why he feels so isolated.
Yeah.
They love the idea of him, not the real him.
So the crisis is averted. The family settles down to watch a play called The Thorn Hairpin, and the text notes that the older women, they're moved to tears by the tragedy on stage.
And that is the final perfect irony. You have the family crying over a fictional play, a performance. Meanwhile, Baoyu just got back from crying over a real, tangible loss, but he had to do it in secret.
Public performance of emotion versus the private reality of grief.
The family consumes tragedy as entertainment, while Baoyu lives it as a private burden. He is surrounded by hundreds of people, and yet he is completely alone.